Welcome back, and today we'll be talking about a multiple inheritance using interface. So in the last class, we discussed about inheritance, and we got stuck at the point where we are trying to implement multiple inheritance by having a base class, having a derived class to implement multiple base class. So that didn't work, and that comes the interface. So what exactly is interface? Interface is actually a blueprint. It's like a class, but it's a blueprint. Serves as a base class blueprint that other derived classes or other classes, even concrete class, will inherit from interface, right? So interface is going to like embed and harbor the unimplemented properties and methods in it. You cannot implement a method in an interface, but any class that actually inherits the interface um, has to implement the method in the interface. So let's, for example, get to work and assume that we have a person, right? So a person is going to be a class. Let's give a public class person, right? So we all know that a person, of course, has their own properties, which includes person name, person address, person, whatever they have. So, um, and a person might actually implement other interfaces. Of course, a person has a bank account, right? So in starting an interface, can just right click on the project, click on add new item. It will pop out a dialog. You can see class interface, and if you want to name an interface, the naming convention for interface in C Sharp, we usually use I first, then we can determine whatever name we want to give the interface. For example, iBank, so that's the bank interface. So it's going to create an interface for bank, right? So, and for the bank, what does bank operation does? For the basic part, users can check balance. For a check balance, users can as well make withdrawal, void withdraw, right? What else? And probably deposit. Let's just keep it simple like that. So by default, interface is public. Okay, so it can only be public. So I don't need to like put public here. I might, but I don't have to. So by default, it will be public, right? So yeah, it says modifier public is not valid for this item. So by default, it's public. That sounds good. So we can also have another interface. Let's assume, because we're trying to handle multiple inheritance, right? So we need couple of interface. Let's assume that employment, employment. Okay, we can add that to that. So of course, employment comes with void salary, void job description. So that brings me up to this idea. Coming to the banking interface, so the balance can go as void because we don't have to return anything, right? Just the balance, right? So the withdrawal, can we use void? Let's use decimal because we are gonna have to, if a customer wants to withdraw, right, they need to like input an amount. So we need to put a parameter there, amount, same thing here, because if they want to deposit, perform the deposit operation, they have to work with a figure that they are trying to deposit, right? So let's give that a decimal type. By the way, decimal is what we use to handle monetary figures in C Sharp. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this one here. The idea is to implement multiple inheritance, right? So, okay, so a person has a name. Let's even forget about properties for now. Let's work with methods. Public void name, right? Okay, let's just put the name as console.writeline. Let's print the name here explicitly. Welcome, Mr. Todd. Okay, and then what else? Okay, let's just leave that. Let's just keep it simple. Okay, in real life we can have a lot of methods in there, keep it, but the idea of this tutorial is to understand multiple inheritance. Now a person has a name, and let's just use details. That way it can make more sense. Console.writeline, and let's just add address. Your address is 1029 Daffodil Lane, San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, we are here. So anyway, so let's just assume that the person has a detail uh, method in there. Now, as a person that you are in real life, as a person object, fine, you have these properties. You have a name or you have an address, but you also have bank details. You also have a job or something. So that doesn't come inside of you. That is something that is, you have to go to a bank to like create a bank account, and the bank is going to keep your record. They keep a record of your balances, so you can withdraw, you can make deposits, right? Also your job records, or your job also has a database of all employees, right, in which you are one of them, right? So, and let's assume the government wants to have a full details of your life, which includes your bank accounts and your employment. So they need like to like connect your details with your bank database and your employment database or interface or whatever. So that way, let's try and inherit iBank, right? So let's see the message we have here. Person does not implement interface member iBank check balance. So it's telling us that we are not implementing all the methods in here, which is the all the methods here. So we have to implement any interface that we inherit, right? So implement interface. By the way, what I press is control, hold down control, then dot. So it gave me the method, right? Check balance. Let's assume by default that um current a user has a current balance of 350. Don't forget, when you're using decimal, it's a monetary value. You have to put M to remind the compiler that it's a monetary value. So by default, the starting balance is 350, right? Okay, check balance. Okay, let's just put a message there. Your current balance is okay, we're going to assign the current balance there. Okay, your current balance is this. Press enter to continue. All right, so we implemented this, right? Let's just leave it, keep it simple like that. When it comes to deposit, the user has to deposit an amount, right? We don't know what the user is going to input in the amount. So whatever the user is going to deposit, which is the current balance, is going to be equal to the current balance itself plus whatever amount the user will deposit, right? So that will be the new current balance. Then we can print that out. And one thing is here to shorten the code, you can just put plus equal to. So it's like you're literally adding the current balance with whatever the user input there. So that'll be the new current balance. Okay. Console dot write line. Okay. Your deposit of let's see that. Why the okay. So actually, let's put that here first before it even executes it. Your deposit of amount is successful. Right? So this message will come up, and then it adds it together, and then return the uh, message here. Mm. Your new balance is your new balance is okay. Okay, so let's comment this one first, then return the current balance. Okay, so what happens here, if it hits this method, it looks for what the user has input here, then add it to the current balance and gives you this message, your current balance is this, and return current balance, right? Okay, so what if the user wants to uh where is it, where's the withdrawal? User wants to withdraw, right? So let's just quickly try to implement that, and here we just have to put the minus in there. Okay, that pretty makes sense now. So what else do we have holding? So now we are going to implement the employment interface, right? We need to get the employment details of the person as well. This is what we are trying to do in the last class that we got stuck, but interface will let us do it. So you just have to hold down control and tap period. So implement the method in the employment itself, which includes job description. Okay, so your job is okay. Let's just keep that simple. We're running out of time. I always try to keep my videos brief and short, straight to the point. Okay, so that's like your salary is, let's assume the salary is 1500, right? Okay, so we have that. So this is implemented, so let's try and instantiate person class. Person p equal to new person. Okay, so p dot person details, right? Okay, p dot, what else do we have? Salary, job description, right? P dot salary. Then we also have p dot check balance, right? Okay, check balance. Okay, so console dot write line, console dot read line to actually read that. So by the time we run the application, it automatically gives us the person details, print out the message there, the person job description, the salary, and the check balance. Okay, so if we actually want to proceed, if we press enter to proceed, so we are actually going to have the users, we are trying to perform a transaction, so we need to request the user to input what they actually want to do. Okay, press W for withdrawal or D for deposit. Okay, so how do we actually get the the data that the whatever. How do we know if the user entered W or D? So we are going to create a variable to hold that input. Okay, console the trade line. Now this input will determine if this is W or D. Okay, so we need to use an if else statement to determine what the user input. So let's also try that. If input equal to W, what should we do? We should prompt the user to enter what they actually want to do, how much they want to withdraw before calling the withdrawal method. Enter amount to withdraw, right? Okay, then we need to create a variable to actually read the amount, decimal variable. Okay, let's see how that works. Okay, so now this is the amount itself. Okay, so then we are going to call the withdraw amount withdraw, then we are going to assign this amount that the user enter into the withdrawal parameter itself. Okay, so if you call the withdraw method, what message do we have? We have your new balance is okay, withdrawal successful, your new balance is okay, yeah, withdraw amount of okay, let's put a message in here just to make that a little bit good. So once we do that, we are going to put something like your withdrawal amount of is completed, right? Okay. Okay, your withdrawal amount of this is completed, then it will go ahead and run this and give the total balance. Okay, what if the users enter D? Let's just copy and paste that and change that. If it enters D, enter amount to deposit. Okay, your deposit amount of this is completed, and it will print the deposit method, right? And put in the amount in there. So what if the user doesn't enter W or D? Let's just take care of that. Okay, else if, so here we're going to use else. Just print out users enter wrong details. You entered a wrong detail. Okay, so let's see how that works. You entered the wrong detail, right? If the user didn't enter either withdrawal or deposit. So let's try that real quick and see how it works. Okay, so by default it will say welcome Mr. Todd, your address. Okay, front line 1500. It says press enter to continue. Recall that the current balance is 350, right? Okay, let's press enter. Press W for withdrawal, D for deposit. First of all, what if we are not pressing either of these two, W or D? Let's try something like K or whatever. It says you enter the wrong detail, right? So it has to you have to go back to restart the process again. And now we are going to start with deposit D. Okay, enter amount to deposit. Let's deposit extra 500 on what we have, which is 500 plus 350, right? Then your deposit of 500 is completed. Your new balance is 850, right? And it says thank you. Okay, so that worked fine. And let's try and withdraw from our 350 balance. So let's try and use W for withdrawal, right? So enter amount to withdraw. Let's withdraw like 200, right? Your withdrawal of 200 is completed. Your new balance is 150. Thank you. So what if the user enter a withdrawal amount that is more than 350? What's going to happen? It's probably going to deduct the amount from 350 and then give us a negative balance, right? But that is not supposed to be like that. So if I'm trying to withdraw 500 now from 350, it's completed the transaction. You can see it's completed the transaction, right? And then it says my balance is minus 150. This is wrong in real life. This cannot happen. We cannot build an application like this. So that way we have to go back to the withdrawal method and put a restriction, a conditional restriction on that. Okay, so first of all, once it checks the balance, then I'll have to put a conditional statement here. If the current balance is less than 0, right, then print this line. If it's less than 0, then just print out console.writeLine. You have insufficient balance. Period. Then don't just continue. Else, right? You can go ahead and execute this. So let's see how that works. So now I'm trying to withdraw more than what I have in balance, right? W for withdrawal, let's try and withdraw 500. It says we have insufficient balance, so we've put a restriction on that. Okay, so it probably like if the bank wants to allow the user to like have a overdraft of maybe $50, you can put that here, minus $50, right? So the user can actually overdraft, but they cannot overdraft more than $50. Let's see how that works as well. So if I try to overdraft like 350 plus 40, 390, right? 390. So that should work. Okay, your withdrawal of 390 is completed. Your new balance is minus 40. I have not exceeded with the $50 overdraft, right? What if you try to exceed the $50 overdraft, right? Then it should tell me that I have insufficient balance. Okay, withdraw. Then probably I'm trying to withdraw 500 again. Insufficient balance. So the idea is that it will check through this condition. So if this condition is what, if the user meets this condition, it should execute this block of code, else it should jump into this block of code. So basically we have implemented multiple inheritance here by having a person class to implement the bank interface, and then we actually implemented the banking method, which is the check balance, deposit, and withdrawal. And then we also implemented the employment interface, which also give us the details of the salary and the job description of the user. And we're able to actually use the person class to call the implementations of the interface. So basically this is how the multiple inheritance work in real life. And in the next class we'll be talking about abstract class and polymorphism.